Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, That Model Railway Guy, and welcome to another tutorial video. In this one I'll be showing you how you can make a little display plinth for one of your locos. This can be great if you have a favourite engine that you want out on display in between running sessions, or if you just don't have a layout yet but you still want to show off your favourite loco. So for the basis of this plinth, I'm going to use foam board. This stuff is 5mm thick, it's cheap, lightweight, easy to cut, and it's really useful for all sorts of modelling projects. I had these offcuts lying around that were about the right size and length, and what I'm going to do is stick them together using a bit of super glue. This makes the board a bit thicker in the middle where my track will go, and then I can have the land fall away towards the edges. At the moment it's a bit of a sharp drop, so to get the land to change height more naturally, I'm going to use some modelling compound, which is a powder you just mix with water and then you get this thick paste that dries fairly quickly. And as you can see, I'm just using a small amount here on the very edges so that the track bed doesn't fall off at a hard angle. One great thing with modelling compound is that you can smooth it out with your finger while it's drying, and that way you can get a much smoother finish. Once the compound is dry, which doesn't take very long, it's time to paint everything brown, and this will just give the impression of a dirt layer underneath our scenics. Any old brown will do, I'm just using a cheap tester pot of emulsion here. And then when we put the scenics over this later on, that will stop the white of the foam board from shining through any gaps on areas that are a bit thinner. Next it's time to stick our track down. Luckily I already had this piece of track cut to size, and it's actually an offcut from one of the sidings on my modular model railway. When it comes to fixing track, usually I prefer to use track pins, but this time I'm actually going to use glue instead. So with some super glue on the underside of the sleepers, I'll put it in place. After a few seconds you can see it's stuck nicely in position and isn't going anywhere. Next I'll paint the rails and sleepers, as personally I think this really improves the look of the track. I've shown this standard technique I use a few times on the channel now, so you may already know this, but first I paint the rail sides brown using rail match sleeper grime, and this makes the rails look a lot finer. I then also brushed the same colour over the sleepers as well, just to add a bit of variation to them, and it also gives it a bit of a matte finish instead of the shiny plastic. And don't forget to do the outsides of the sleepers too. And now I'll paint the chairs that hold the rails in place, and for this I'm using Rail Match Light Rust. I actually tried something a bit different this time by dry brushing it on instead to see if I could get a more subtle effect. This did seem to take longer than usual, so I'm not sure I'd have the patience to do it on my big layout, but certainly for this small display track it was worth giving it a go. On the close-up here you can see I'm just putting a tiny amount on each of the rail chairs, and then when I've covered the whole section I just go back and spread the paint around to blend it in with the sleeper grime colour we added earlier. With the rails and sleepers painted and dry, it's now time to get some ballast down. First I'll pour the ballast over the track, and then I'll use a brush to get it all into place between the sleepers. And again, don't forget about the sides too, and you can use the brush again here to define the hard edge. Once I have the ballast looking like I want it to, then it's just a case of using a syringe loaded with watered down PVA glue to fix it in place. This is just the standard mix of PVA glue, water and a few drops of washing up liquid, and the glue will seep through the ballast as it dries, locking it all together. Waiting for the ballast to dry does take a while, but once it's set, the final step is to add some static grass along the outside edges. I'll cover the remaining brown areas with PVA glue, and then using my static applicator, I'll drop the grass over these areas. And don't forget, if you want a more in-depth tutorial on how to use static grass, I just did a video on this recently as part of my Model Railway Basics series, so make sure you click the link at the top right of your screen now if you'd like to see that. Doing a small area like this takes no time at all, and once it's dry and the excess grass has been brushed away, you can see our display plinth is now pretty much finished. All that's left now is to add a loco to it, and you can see the display track really makes the model stand out. Just adding a little bit of scenery in a self-contained way around the loco has really turned this into a nice display piece, and it was all using surplus materials I had left over from my main layout. Altogether, this took about an hour to make, although that's not including the time waiting for things to dry, and now it happily sits on my desk displaying locos all day. You could also use this as a photoplank too, so if you want to take photos of your locos in a scenic setting without having to have a big layout, well, just add a small backscene behind this and away you go. So that's it for this time, guys. Do let me know down in the comments if you enjoyed this and if you think you'll have a go at it yourself. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon too to get notifications for more Model Railway videos in the future. But for now, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!